There are disappearances that shock a town for a season, and then there are the ones that leave a scar so deep it becomes part of local folklore. In the summer of 1999, 24-year-old Angela Pierce vanished after leaving her accounting job in Fort Worth, Texas. She wasn't in danger, wasn't involved in crime, didn't live a risky lifestyle. She was supposed to be home before midnight with a bag of takeout and plans to watch her favorite sitcom reruns. Instead, she evaporated. Police assumed at first she had car trouble. When they couldn't find her '78 Ford Coupe, the search widened into rural counties. Teams combed through creeks, ponds, and pipelines. Nothing. For decades, her disappearance became another unsolved entry in Texas cold case files. But then, in early 2025, a rancher hired a land crew to level a long-abandoned pasture near Clay County. Bulldozers only expected roots and rocks, maybe old metal from farm equipment buried over time. What they hit instead was a steel roof, old, dented, and painted a fading shade of blue. Angela's Ford Coupe had been underground for 26 years. And inside it, investigators found something far more disturbing than they ever expected. The truth about what happened to Angela hadn't been lost. It had been buried, deliberately. On June 18, 1999, Angela clocked out early. That alone raised no red flags. Fridays were flexible at the office. A security camera showed her walking into the parking lot at 9:12 p.m., food bag in hand, her purse slung over her shoulder. Her hair was up, her posture relaxed. Nothing suggested fear. Yet her roommate, Kelly Rourke, later admitted Angela had been on edge for weeks. She mentioned a man who came into the office building repeatedly with no clear purpose. He never approached her, never spoke, but he watched her. The kind of watch that sends a cold current through your bones. Angela brushed it off at first. Then she started changing her usual routes home. The night she disappeared, Angela told Kelly, "I think he followed me again." But she refused to file a report. She didn't want to sound paranoid. Around 10:05 p.m., a gas station on the outskirts of the city claimed a woman matching Angela's description asked for directions to County Road 22. But there was no video, no receipt, nothing to confirm it was truly her. At 10:31 p.m., just 30 minutes after leaving work, Angela's car passed a toll booth north of Fort Worth. That was the last verified trace of her alive. Where she went next has remained a ghost map for 2 decades, until the buried coupe told its side of the story. In 1999, Texas was experiencing a sharp rise in missing person reports, especially among young women traveling alone at night. Angela's case initially received attention, posters, local broadcasts, volunteer searches, but too many factors worked against her. There was no cell phone to track. No clear evidence of a struggle. Her bank accounts stayed untouched. Her car vanished without a trace. Theories ballooned. Maybe she ran away. Maybe she crashed into water. Maybe she'd been abducted. Maybe she just wanted to disappear. Detectives Mark Reyes and Sandra Holloway refused to accept the runaway theory. They believed Angela crossed paths with someone dangerous and familiar with rural Texas. A strange clue surfaced when a farmer west of Wichita Falls reported seeing headlights speeding across open land around midnight, a coupe-shaped shadow kicking up dust. But by the time police searched the area, tracks had faded, and rain erased what little was left. 4 years, the case stagnated. Every anniversary, her mother lit a candle. Every few years, someone phoned in a supposed sighting. Every lead went nowhere. The truth wasn't floating in a lake or hiding with a witness. It was buried, waiting. In January 2025, rancher Brett McCaskey bought a forgotten stretch of land. The previous owners, 2 elderly brothers, died years earlier, leaving behind rusted equipment and half-fallen sheds. Brett wanted to turn the land into an RV site. On January 26th, a bulldozer struck something solid 8 feet underground. The operator stopped immediately. He thought it was an old water tank, but metal peeled away, revealing a roofline. A classic coupe. Deputies arrived within an hour. Crime scene tape went up. Reporters gathered at sunset. The excavation took the entire day. When they finally lifted the vehicle, they discovered the coupe was angled downward, nose first. The windshield shattered inward. The front axle twisted, as if from a violent collision. The driver's side door jammed. The passenger side partially crushed. Inside, a purse with ID cards, 2 silver rings, a melted cassette tape, keys still in the ignition. Human remains pressed against the passenger side frame. The dental match took only 2 days. It was Angela. The car hadn't simply been abandoned. It had been interred, deliberately, efficiently. Whoever did this didn't panic. They planned. And the burial site wasn't random. The land belonged, for decades, to 2 men with reputations that still made locals whisper. The property belonged to the Caldwell brothers, Howard and Dale, reclusive cattlemen known for paranoia and a fierce obsession with outsiders. Old police reports revealed 3 notable incidents. 1987, Dale threatened a surveyor with a rifle for trespassing. 1992, Howard chased teenagers off the property with dogs. 1999, a noise disturbance reported by a neighbor the same night Angela vanished, never investigated. When detectives dug further, they found both brothers had rented digging equipment in late June 1999. Records listed the reason as drainage improvement, but satellite mapping later revealed no drainage work ever occurred. More disturbing was a journal recovered from Dale's belongings after his death. Most entries were mundane: weather notes, cattle counts, supply lists. But one entry stood out. June 19, 1999, car lights near south fence past midnight. Someone yelling. Didn't go out. Dale said let it be. It suggested the brothers saw something, or someone, bringing the coupe onto their land. But neither man ever contacted police. The brothers were dead now. Both passed away years before Angela's car was uncovered. They could no longer answer questions. But evidence suggested they weren't alone that night. Someone else, someone not from the ranch, had approached Angela's car. And that someone left behind proof. Inside the ruined coupe was a melted cassette labeled only 4. Restoration teams spent weeks salvaging what they could. Only 6 minutes survived. The tape begins with Angela breathing hard. A car engine revs. Wind rushes past. Then her voice, trembling. He's still behind me. If someone finds this, I was right. He followed me. Static. A moment later. I'm turning off the highway. I need to lose him. Crash. The coupe likely hit a fence post or tree, consistent with the damage found. Angela screams. Someone is heard outside the vehicle. Then silence. Footsteps. A man's voice, calm and chilling. Stop. Not shouted. Not angry. Soft. Controlled. Experts cleaned the audio. The voice belonged to a male, mid-40s to early 50s in 1999, meaning he'd be in his 70s today. The voice did not match either Caldwell brother. This man remained entirely unidentified. Angela's final recorded breath ends the tape. Oh God! He's walking toward me. The tape cuts off. And yet, it gave investigators something they never had before. Proof she was right. Proof she was followed. Proof she tried to leave behind clues. And proof the man who approached her car was not a rancher. He was a predator she'd seen before. Investigators now believe the following occurred. After leaving work, Angela realized she was being followed, likely by the same man who had watched her for weeks. She tried to shake him by taking unfamiliar highways and backroads. Near Clay County, the man closed in. Angela accelerated. She lost control and crashed. The man approached her damaged coupe. Whether he struck her or forced her into a different position remains unknown. But the coupe was moved after the crash. Tire mud patterns confirm it. Someone reversed it down the slope toward the pasture. The burial was too deep and precise for one man alone. This is where investigators believe the Caldwell brothers played a role, willingly or out of fear. But the real offender, the man on the tape, remains unidentified. The voice analysis is ongoing. Texas Rangers have reopened the case. Audio samples are now public. Someone will recognize that voice. Someone remembers a coworker or neighbor who drove late at night. Someone remembers a man who obsessed over a young woman in 1999. Angela left behind 6 minutes of truth. And after 26 years, the earth itself returned the rest. Angela Pierce's final moments weren't silent. She fought to document her fear, her instinct, the man who hunted her. And though her voice was buried with her for decades, it survived just long enough to be heard. Her Ford Coupe, once a symbol of independence, became the time capsule that preserved her story until the day the soil gave it back. The case remains open. The voice remains unidentified. And someone alive today still knows more. If you have information that could help investigators identify the man heard on Angela's cassette, contact the Clay County Sheriff's Office. The past doesn't stay buried forever. Sometimes, it drives itself back into the light.